I would like to apologize for my inferior Week 10 performance, as I went 7-7. That is not good. That's one of my worst records of the year, and I promise this week I'm going to respond. Just like I have in the previous weeks, I've said I'm going to have a response week. In fact, 5 times this year. Whether it's picking NFL games or college football games, when I say I'm going to respond, I respond. And this should be no different. Because if I've responded 5 times before, why don't you think I can't do it a 6th? Nobody responds better than me. And here we go. Let's start off with the Thursday night game. The Tennessee Titans versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I am going with the Steelers in this matchup. I just feel like ever since that abysmal performance against the Jaguars, I feel like the Steelers have responded very well. Ben Roethlisberger responded really well. They may have had a struggle win against the Colts, but a win's a win. You got to sometimes take the wins you can get them. Because the Colts aren't really a bad team at all. I just feel like if the Colts could get some offensive line, and if Angelo can come back next year, the Colts could be a contender soon. But still, I will go with the Steelers in this one, even though they had a struggle win. A lot of teams have to have struggle wins. The Patriots had struggle wins this year. Every team's had a struggle win this year, where they've had to grind it out. So I'm going with the Steelers. Lions versus the Bears now. I feel like this game can go either way. This is one of those games this week that can go in either direction. But I'm going to go with the Lions here. It's opponents. It's been really hard to be an opponent in Soldier Field this year. The Bears really have challenged their opponents at home this year. I mean, the Falcons only beat the Bears in Soldier Field Week 1, 23-17. The Panthers actually lost the Bears in Soldier Field, despite having better numbers offensively. The Bears' defense rose to the occasion that day. I think this game can go in either direction, but the pick'em side of me is picking the Lions. But the overall NFL fan in me is kind of rooting for the Bears here, because the Bears, I've really crapped on the Bears for a long time now. And it's nice to see the Bears kind of doing decently. I feel like if the Bears actually had offensive talent, the Bears could be a playoff team. So I'm going to go with the Lions here, although I think it's going to be really close. I'm going to say the Lions pull it out at the very end. I'm going to say something like I'm going to say 24-20. Next are the Jacksonville Jaguars versus Cleveland Browns. Can the Browns get their first win of the season? I mean, the NFL fan in me hopes so. But the pick'em side of me says unfortunately not. I'm going with the Jaguars. And honestly, I just don't want to see the Jaguars win. I just feel like people are just really on this Jacksonville Jaguars hype train too much. I feel like they'll come back to reality really soon. Because honestly, I feel like if the Steelers and the Jaguars played again, I think the Steelers win by at least 17 points. So I'm going with Jacksonville here, but they're not going to make a Super Bowl run. Mark it down. Jaguars will get eliminated in the wild card round. Ravens versus the Packers. I'm going with the Ravens here because the Packers have gotten exposed this season without Aaron Rodgers. Kind of like the Texans have gotten exposed without Deshaun Watson. Kind of how the Patriots would get exposed as soon as Brady retires, and now that there's no more Jimmy Garoppolo. Like if Brady goes down in a game, the Patriots will get exposed. A lot of teams get exposed when star players are out, especially like their leaders, like in Aaron Rodgers for the Packers. Like the Giants without Eli Manning would get exposed. The Eagles without Carson Wentz would get exposed. The Cowboys without Zeke got exposed. So I'm going to go with Baltimore here. Their defense is really underrated to me. They may not have the best defense, they don't have the worst defense either. Even though it's in Lambeau, I'm going with the Ravens here. Next, we have the Buccaneers versus the Dolphins. And do I really have to make a pick for this? Unfortunately, I do. This is one of the games where somebody really has to win, as this is going to be a game that's not going to be played this week. It's supposed to be a Week 1 game, but due to Hurricane Irma, this game got postponed to this week. But I'm going with Tampa Bay here. Mike Evans come back from suspension. I know they have Ryan Fitzpatrick quarterback, but the Dolphins just haven't looked good in weeks. They've already traded Jay Ajayi to the Eagles, and their defense has given up a significant amount of points. The offense has struggled a lot this year. So I'm going with Tampa Bay here. I feel like this game can go in either direction, but I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. Kind of just to be safe. Next, we have the Los Angeles Rams versus the Minnesota Vikings. And personally, I think this is the game of the week. But I'm going to go with the Vikings here. I know the Rams are leading the NFC West, but I feel like they haven't played teams that are really strong yet. And the teams they've played that are strong, they have lost. Like they lost to the Seahawks. The Seahawks are a really strong team, especially when we get later in the season. The Seahawks are going to be one of the strongest teams in the NFC, if not the whole NFC. So I'm going with the Vikings here. Next, Redskins versus New Orleans. I'm going with the Saints here, because I think the Saints have been really balling out this year, especially in the running game with Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. In fact, they really exposed a Bills' stout run defense. 6 rushing touchdowns on them. 3 on Mark Ingram, 1 by Alvin Kamara, 1 by their third-string running back, who I just forgot his name, and Drew Brees. Yes, that's probably 5 rushing touchdowns, but whatever. Still the same thing. The Saints really exposed a stout Bills running defense, and I think the Saints can run on anybody right now. I'm going with the Saints here. Chiefs versus the Giants now. I'm going with the Chiefs. Nothing really personal to Giants fans out there. It's just that it seems the players have given up on Ben McAdoo, it seems like. Especially with the comments he made after the game against the 49ers. If I was a player on that team, I'd probably give up on Ben McAdoo as well. I think the Giants are going to part ways with Ben McAdoo probably at the end of the season. I feel like if they were going to part ways, then it would probably be by now anyways. Maybe even next week. Maybe even week 13. I feel like he's not out by week 13. They're going to let him finish out the season. And probably hire somebody in the college game right now. Probably Brian Kelly or Jim Mora. I'm going with the Chiefs. That's something for another day. Moving on. Arizona versus Houston. Another game we don't want to pick, but I'll go with the Texans here. Because I feel like the Texans will be a safer pick here because Drew Sam may not play in this game, and they'll have third-string Blaine Gabbert being quarterback if they get down to that. So I'm going with the Texans here. I just feel like things can turn around for the Texans this week. Things do look bleak for the Texans, but I think they can win this game. Next are the Bills and the Chargers. I think the Bills are starting to come back to reality right now. Everyone's talking about how they've had a stout running defense where they've held a lot of teams out of the end zone by rushing the football. But I feel like the Chargers are going to come back this week. I feel like they're going to respond really well. I did hear that Phillip Rivers is in the concussion protocol, but I think he's going to play in this game. I mean, I remember he played in the AFC Championship game one year with 2 torn ACLs, and he still balled out, even though the Chargers lost that game. So I'm going with the Chargers here. Next are the Bengals and Broncos. Going with the Bengals here. The Denver defenses just seem to have gotten exposed lately. So many holes in that Broncos defense who we all thought was going to be the best defense in the AFC West. Moving on, Patriots and the Raiders. I'm going with the Patriots right now. I just feel like the Patriots are rolling ever since that 2-2 starts of the year. I'm going with New England. Next, we have the Eagles versus the Cowboys. Eagles here. I feel like the Cowboys are right now getting exposed without Zeke. So moving on to the Monday night game, the Atlanta Falcons versus Seattle Seahawks. Now, I feel this game goes in either direction. Both teams are missing some pieces. The Seahawks have lost Richard Sherman for the year after last week's Thursday night game. Lost for the year, the torn MCL. And the Falcons are going to most likely be out with Devontae Freeman. I'm not sure he's been ruled out yet officially, but I think he's going to be ruled out officially by maybe on Friday. But I'm still going to go with Atlanta here, and here's why. I just feel like with Richard Sherman being out and Earl Thomas is probably going to be questionable because Earl Thomas missed the last 2 games. The Falcons did really well defensively in what was, I believe, a must-win game for the Falcons. I think this is another must-win game for the Falcons to kind of get back right on track. I mean, if the Falcons do what they did in the playoffs last year, I feel like they'll be just fine in this game. Because there's still going to be some pieces exposed without Richard Sherman. Because people never really threw in Richard Sherman's direction because he was so good with interceptions. But I'm going to go with the Falcons here because I feel like Julio Jones is due for a big game in this one. Especially when he would most likely be even covered by Richard Sherman now that he's out of the game. I see Matt Ryan just constantly throwing to Julio Jones this matchup. I think Taylor Gabriel and Mohamed Sanu also get opened up in this game. And I think Tevin Coleman, I described Tevin Coleman as kind of a shorter and lanky version of Devontae Freeman. I see him beating Tevin Coleman in this one. I think the Falcons with this Monday Night Football game, I'm going to say it's a high-scoring game. I'm going to say 38-31. I mean, those are my picks this week. For those of you keeping score at home, I have the Steelers, Lions, Jaguars, Ravens, Buccaneers, Vikings, Saints, Chiefs, Texans, Chargers, Bengals, Patriots, Eagles, and Falcons all winning this week. Comment your picks down below. Like and subscribe to the channel. Share it with your friends and family. I will see you next time. Have a great day, everyone.